How did you get into the insurance industry? Where did you start? Because you've come a long way.
My wife sent me a message, said, hey, we just got served papers. You're being sued from your accident. It's absolutely nuts.
Every carrier you have a different relationship with. Some of them say, I've got to meet with you. You're like, let's do it. Others, you're kind of going, maybe once or twice a year we connect, right?
Yeah. Or as my kids would say, 6 or 7.
Yes! Yes!
I had to throw that in there for them.
Yes! Father to 3, insurance agency owner, suffering Mariners fan. Keep him in your prayers. Dan Vander Kooi is joining us. Dan, good to have you, buddy.
Thanks, Brian. Good to see you, man.
So Dan, remind me, you are 3 hours north of Seattle, almost knocking on the Canadian border. How did we first meet? When did we get in contact?
Yeah, there's a border crossing into Canada in our town. So I'm closer to Vancouver than I am to Seattle. We connected. I was over here in the Nampa Meridian area for, I think, some kids' baseball, Cal Ripken Regionals or something like that. And I got some friends that live over here too. And so visiting them. And Caleb Hazel, who's our lead commercial sales guy, said, hey, you got to connect with this guy, Brian, who I went to college with. And it's just good for you guys. He said, I think you guys will get along. And sure enough, now we've known each other for 3 or 4 years. And every once in a while I get those random texts of a big dream or
right, baby.
Need someone to bounce something off of. It's been great.
I love your energy. I mean, I wish Caleb could join us. He's making cold calls somewhere. The dude just grinds away.
Always selling.
Always selling. So baseball, you're traveling with kiddos. You're going to Mariners games.
A lot of them.
Did you play baseball from an early age?
I did. It was something I always kind of clung on to, and a lot of baseball in the backyard in our neighborhood. We had a kind of a cool neighborhood growing up, and we would all kind of congregate in this one neighbor's backyard. They had some older boys that almost taught us. They taught a lot of us how to pitch, how to play. Greg Bonson, and we just kind of. They had like the open backyard, like no trees in it or anything like that. So it was perfect for like playing wiffle ball and stuff. And in the days when when it got dark, you'd eventually head home. It was a pretty awesome childhood growing up and a lot of baseball.
Back before cell phones, people played in the backyard. So I'm looking at a baseball diamond in my head. Where are you on that baseball diamond? What's your favorite position?
I pitched in high school and college, and I played a lot of third base as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we will talk about insurance, but I'm just so curious. I mean, how many of the World Series games did you just attend? Because they just got done playing the Dodgers as we're recording.
Okay, so you're just adding insult to injury there. The Mariners did not make the World Series. They're still the only club in Major League Baseball history to not make the World Series, and I am still a suffering Mariners fan at 42 years old. So we were at almost every single playoff game. There was one, we were visiting a school in Knoxville, school for my daughter. And so my in-laws went with my 2 younger boys, which was a pretty cool experience for them. That was the 15-inning game. And,
wow.
So it was a pretty neat experience for us as a family to enjoy it and just soak it in.
So I'm only pretending to be a baseball fan as best I can.
That's fine.
So you went to the divisional championship, is that the right?
Went to the divisional series and the American League Championship Series.
American League Championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have family in LA, but I realized, I think you saw on Facebook, I said, what bandwagon should I get on? Which was the worst thing to ask.
Yeah, you can't win on that one.
Oh my gosh. I did not realize how many LA Dodger fans I still had from living in LA for 8 years.
Yeah.
And all my friends now who are Mariners fans, even in Idaho, the Mariners are essentially the home team.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sonics were back in the day when they were playing the Bulls. So I think that's very cool. I barely watched baseball in the play. I mean, I figure out end of October, typically, the baseball's happening. So
It's a good time if you're going to jump on a bandwagon. It's a fun time to watch. The intensity's off the charts, every pitch, and it's a great game.
Well, let's slander the Dodgers for a second. Did they just buy this title or what?
It's, here's the thing that I had is I actually went into the World Series saying, I'm going to go for the Dodgers. I really like Freddie Freeman. I like Mookie Betts. I like Clayton Kershaw is like the biggest class act ever. And then I found myself like, man, I really like Vladdy. I really like some of these Blue Jay guys just have this grit and they play so well together as a team. They put together good at bats. And we got to the point where our household was divided a little bit. And so I kind of said, you know what? I just want them both to lose. Like, I'm sad. I'm in grieving. And I was actually traveling back from a meeting with PIAB from Sacramento, and when they lost to the Blue Jays, and I was in the Alaska Lounge in SeaTac when they hit the 3-run bomb, and I about came unglued. And my wife got some text from me about some of the managerial decisions that Dan Wilson made. And I know he's a great guy. I've met him a couple times, but I was struggling. So, but it's just a game. It's just a game, you know?
Well, but I'm glad you took the high road.
Yeah.
And when you looked at the World Series, you said both of them lose.
Yeah. And the Dodgers won. And my old high school baseball coach is a huge Dodgers fan. I have lots of friends that are Dodgers fans. There's great guys on both teams. Both pretty classy organizations.
I went to Dodgers games in college, and this is when the outfield was totally disconnected from the rest of the stadium. Mm-hmm. Not sure if it's the same way, but they said it was like a few shades away from like a full 18th Street Gang reunion out there. It was a dicey crowd.
It was rough. It's gotten a little better. I've been to a couple of down there now. There's so much history in that stadium. It's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Well, Dan, I mean, you got baseball. You already mentioned PIAB. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get into the insurance industry? Where did you start? Because you've come a long way, but kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, so I was a youth pastor for almost 10 years before I got into insurance. Was coaching high school baseball out at Nooksack Valley High School. And I got hired there when I was 21, which hiring a 21-year-old to coach, 15 through 18-year-olds, I must have pulled the wool over their eyes somehow. But it was good. I had a lot of fun. And one of my assistant coaches at the time, who was actually one of my high school coaches when I played, said, hey, I talk more people out of getting into this because everyone thinks they can sell, but selling's a lot harder than you think. He goes, I think you'd be good at it. You're connected to a lot of people. You're involved in the community. And so I joined him, Leonard Smith, great guy. He does a lot of umpiring now. He still has an agency, and we talk every once in a while, but he's the one who got me into it, and really grateful to him for that. And just we jumped in, and then in 2014, we merged with another company. Then I was there about a year, and I said, I think I want to do my own thing, and started Mana October 30, 2015. We just celebrated 10 years last week.
Congrats.
Yeah. And we just grown it. We're a full service brokerage. So we have a commercial P&C division, personal lines, employee benefits, life, health, disability, long-term care. We kind of do it all. We do our surety side. Caleb and Noah specialize in that and have national certifications on that. So if it involves insurance, we can do it. And we really just try to grow into this company that's privately owned. I'm the only owner in it, and we want to stay locally and family owned, and where people can still walk in and there's someone there. Mm-hmm. And when you call us, we pick up the phone. You're not getting a phone tree, right? And it's important to us that we serve our communities, and we really we're really there when people need us most.
Right. So, okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an office in Linden, mm-hmm. and then is that the only location, or there?
That's the only location. I think we're licensed in 17 to 20 states. So we do business all over. We have clients in Texas and Tennessee and Arizona and Utah and California and Idaho, and wherever our clients are, we'll go. Some different verticals that we specialize in on the bigger stuff, on the commercial things with, contractors, specialty contractors, general contractors, apartments we do a lot of. And then we do all your Main Street business type stuff. And then our personal lines team is awesome. And they just kind of handle what comes in the door and referrals. And a lot of that's just word of mouth. And I think, with the shakeup in the industry of so many acquisitions, I mean, we've even seen it on the carrier side a little bit, right? But we're seeing it a lot on the agency side, that they like that they can just walk into our office or they can call us, and they're not getting that some of the other places anymore. And so we've really just pushed into that, just asking for referrals, and it seems like it's been going pretty well.
So when you started Mana 10 years ago-ish, mm-hmm. did you start focusing on the personal side, and you've seen commercial come along? Were you doing both when you started?
Yeah, I was definitely the jack of all trades, master of none. I was an entrepreneur. You figure a way out and you go. And, it's funny. My mom always said, even growing up, like, I was a kid that sold the most tickets for the pancake breakfast in 5th grade, and I got to win a plane ride over Mount Baker or whatever around our county for the bike-a-thon, which raised money for cystic fibrosis. Like I was one of the top sales kids collecting money for that, right? And so I was always just into sales, and it's like if I believed in something, I could sell it. And so in 2009, I was actually I was coaching high school baseball at Nooksack. I was a youth pastor, and I was coming back from Bellingham and ended up rear-ending someone and got sued from it. And I was actually down in Guatemala with an orphanage and school I work with a lot down there. My wife sent me a message, said, "Hey, we just got served papers. You're being sued from your accident." And so that's when I really learned about insurance for the first time. And it was kind of scary. You like went to bed, you're like, okay, I don't know what 100, 300 means or 250, 500 means. And so you start to kind of learn a little bit about it. And Leonard was my agent. And that's when I learned about it. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to transition out of youth ministry. I was looking at some college coaching jobs and ended up getting into this. And so that's kind of how I learned about it, how I got into it. And so now it's really important for us. Like when we sit down and we meet with people, they understand what their coverages are and what it means.
Right. Well, and so many people don't care about insurance until they have that claim. A classic example right now is how many people are having cyber claims and saying, wait a minute, I thought when I declined this coverage, I didn't realize how bad it could be. Or, if we've had clients say, if you need someone to do a testimonial on how important cyber is, why don't you call us and let us know?
Yeah.
So you had kind of the trifecta of involved with sports, so there's that competitive drive. You're also involved in a church community, which you meet a lot of people. You have a heart that's doing the right thing. But then the last thing is you're able to take that and say, why don't I use my passion for sales and bring all these things together? So it doesn't always work out that you start your own company, but did you know, like in your soul, like I've got to start this. I can't work for someone else forever.
Yeah, even as a youth pastor, like you're working for. Sometimes I felt like I had 500 bosses, but you have a lot of autonomy, right? And you build that trust. And right after high school, I was working in a lumber yard. I also found a side gig and I started just hustling and doing landscaping. I was I call it the blow and mow guys, right? They go mow, they weed eat, they blow off your sidewalk, everything. I did that for 5 or 6 guys that had rental houses and just trying to make a buck, figure out a way to make ends meet, right? And so there's always different things in me that just figure like, yeah, I'm probably be self-employed. My grandpa was self-employed. He started a CarQuest store that they didn't have the retail side only. They also would grease trucks and things like that. And so my grandpa was a huge mentor to me in life, and was the first one when I said, hey, I'm going to go out on my own, I think, but I need 15 grand. And he's like, pay me back when you can. And it was pretty cool. Pretty cool, his mentorship in my life and to encourage me in that way and to support me, because we were a young family. As a youth pastor, I didn't make a lot of money. And so, we were always kind of paycheck to paycheck. I was hustling, doing other side jobs, make ends meet before I got insurance. And so just having his support too and encouraging me to go that route was a big deal.
Wow. Now, getting to know you personally, I've seen that it's important to you to give back to the local community, but also you giving back internationally by being involved in mission trips and whatnot. Talk to me about, I know that's a broad array of things, but tell me more about your passions there.
Yeah, so I think internationally, when I was a youth pastor, we used to take a team down to Mexico. We worked with an organization called YWAM Youth with a Mission. And we would go down to like the LA, Burbank area, and we'd be at their base for 2 or 3 days. And we'd have, anywhere from 15 to 40 kids on this trip that we would go on. And we'd do some like trainings and things like that, learn some different like skits to do outreach or some trainings on how to build what they call a house, what we would call a shed. And then we'd go down to Tijuana for 7 days and we'd either build a house for a family or we would do like some street ministry stuff, different things like that. I came back from that trip one time and I was sitting there with our lead pastor at the time, Ryan, and I just said, it just sucks when we drive away, like this family's out in the middle of nowhere and they've just accepted Christ, which is amazing. but they don't have a community of people around them that are going to support them and that are going to, love on them and disciple them. And so how do we bridge this gap? Like, I don't want to do something where we're just going down there doing this and we're disconnected and leaving. And he said, well, you should go talk to the Gavette family. They've adopted a couple boys from Guatemala and they're involved down there. So they go to our church and met with Derek and Debbie and spent 3 hours in a breakfast and lunch restaurant that kicked us out at 3:00 because they're like, we're closing. You guys need to leave now. And heard their story and started taking teams down in 2009. Got involved in the board 2012-ish. I've probably been down there 12, 13 times. I was on the board for about 10 years, 10, 11 years. Just stepped down this September. And it's an incredible organization. It's called Eagles Nest International. eaglesnestint.org is the website if you want to check it out. And our board is completely voluntary. We have a U.S. side and we have the Guatemala side. And Eagles Nest's job is to really care for the abused, abandoned, and neglected kids of Guatemala.
Wow. And
we're a private orphanage, and we get kids that come to us that have been through sexual abuse, physical abuse, and they have nowhere else to turn. And a judge says, we need someone to take care of them. And so we've been down there before where we get an infant that was found in a dumpster and it's less than a day old and it gets brought to Eagles Nest.
Wow.
We get kids that will take them, broken arm because dad beat him, and a judge eventually wants it off their list. So he reunifies them with the family. We get that same kid back 3 months later with another broken arm. Mm-hmm. And so we've become the safe haven. And so out of that, they started a school. There's about 200 kids in K through 6. And then we have a feeding program that was started by Manna Worldwide, disconnected from My Manna. And it feeds anywhere from 75 to, on the high end, 150 of the poorest families in Solala, which is in that community. And it's been a huge part of my family's life. And 100% of the proceeds that you give when you go to sponsor a kid go directly to our general fund. We had a kid that just had, I think he's 17, 18 now, was raised in our home. He's an adult now. He just graduated high school. He just had meniscus surgery. It was $5,000. So we put it out on Facebook. The $5,000 was raised within like an hour. And it's a really cool community where you know where your money's going, and it's changing kids' lives.
Dude, that is incredible.
Yeah. So that's the international side. Eagles Nest International. It's an incredible organization. And like I said, I haven't taken my youngest down yet, but the rest of my family's all been there. And it's pretty cool to take your kids with you to a place where these kids, they've gone through it, and it makes you really understand the things to be grateful for are your relationships with other people. It's not stuff, and you come back and you have these conversations with your kids who have everything they need, they have more than they need. And it really starts you see them wrestle with it, the culture shock a little bit. And it's impactful. And it brings me back to every day. And we tell our team this too, be kind to somebody. When they walk in that door, when they call us, they might be frustrated with the claim going on or billing or something, but be kind to somebody because you don't know what people are going through. And so our time here is short. You never know when your day is going to come. And so I always tell people, just meet people where they're at, love on them, be kind. And I tell my kids that every day when I drop them off at school.
Dude, Dan, wow. That very rewarding, heavy, but rewarding.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get too heavy on her.
Oh, baby. We got tossed in the deep end there, but in all the right ways. Maybe a similar thing, just kind of going off when you said treat people well on the phone. We had a guy who was just kind of rude to our staff, and they said, we're sick of him. We want to fire him. So I take upon myself to nicely call people and say, you're fired. But that being said, our team has a tendency to go look up people's records sometime and say, hey, this person's been through a lot. And so rather than calling and just laying down the law, I typically say, hey, we want the best for you. We want you to have success, but I don't think we'll have success together. So here's what we're requesting is that you find another agent. I'll send you an email with a couple names. We'll give you loss runs. We'll walk you through this. That's still a hard conversation. And people typically want to kind of fight their way out of it and say, I'll change. But recognizing that somebody could be just fighting to keep their life going. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be rude to an insurance agent. but it can be a lesson for them, but it's also a lesson for us to not treat them poorly and not just fire right back and assume that they're attacking us for no good reason. So I love what you're doing with, it's called the Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest International.
I love what you're doing there. So that is a worthwhile lifetime commitment. And I'm thrilled because I knew you had been going down there, but I didn't know how valuable it was.
Yep. It's pretty cool. And then we got another organization, Mount of Olives. It's an orphanage in kind of on the Baja, Mexico. Some good friends of mine, Bill and Jen Rosema, run that. They were at a church. He's a former sheriff's deputy. And he got involved in there and then connected with another young couple out of Tanzania. And they're running a New Vision Sports Club, which is a big soccer academy that they're using to share Jesus with people. So there's a lot of different avenues we're tied into and we want to support. And but yeah, Eagle's Nest is the one where I've spent a lot of time at.
Well, and people, now we're in a culture where Bible references are less known than they used to be. So, of course, your agency, Manna, I'm assuming there is a reference to Exodus there. But am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so it was interesting because when we started Manna, a lot of the people around us were, it was, initials of last names.
Oh, really?
With Northwest, or it was someone's last name before, right? And they named the agency, whatever it might be. Smith Insurance Group or whatever, right? So there's a lot of those. And so when I was thinking about starting the agency, I was doing my quiet time one morning and I was reading through the Israelites in the desert, and it just kind of hit me. I'm like, man, I'm about to start over. This isn't good. It's not going to be smooth right away. And we have 3 kids now, and 3 kids, you got mouths to feed and Christian school to pay for and all this kind of stuff. And so I was like, man, what a good reminder. God's going to provide for us just financially. If we put the work in, we truly believe that God's going to bless it. And then number 2, it's our job as insurance people, professionals, to provide in a time of need by writing the right policies up front for clients, so that when I'm standing there, and I've had 3 house fires in my career and I've been the second call, my cell phone's been the second call after 911, and I'm sitting there while the fire department's still putting the fire out with them. Our job is to provide in a time of need for our clients. And that partnership with the insurance carrier and the client, kind of like a triangle, right? And we're all working together to make sure that the client gets put back, completely restored to being whole. And what a reminder to me when God provided manna for the Israelites in the desert. And I was like, man, that's kind of a cool thing. And I had a couple company reps I was tight with that said, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to alienate people. And then my buddy Zach, who I just had lunch with from a carrier, he's like, yeah, but you might also attract some people too. And again, so some people know what it means. Some people doesn't. I've had the questions do you only serve people who believe in the Bible? Or, I was like, no, we'll serve anybody. It's just for me, it's a reminder every day that I want to serve people really well. And that I want to make sure that our agency is professional and providing in a time of need for our clients.
Amen. Well, keep in mind, not to be a Bible dork here, but God provided manna, but the children of Israel started complaining about it over time. So a good reminder for all of us. So one thing I've appreciated about you is your energy toward building this industry through relationships. Mm-hmm. So we talked about how going to conferences, connecting with PIIB. Let's take some time and talk about PIIB and what you've appreciated about them. Yeah.
I say, so when I started my agency and realistically, I got going January 2016, but I filed the business paperwork October 30, 2015. And when I started that, I thought, hey, I had a book of business. I traded in my stock and gave them some cash and was going to go start Manna. And instantly I was getting blocked at certain carriers. And certain carriers were saying, well, this was a legacy agency, or we got this other agency over here in a different area, doesn't want you to get an appointment, things like that. So I one of the carriers I was trying to get appointed with, I reached out to the guy who'd been in the industry for a long time. He's like, hey, I can't give you a direct appointment, but if you go get connected with these guys, it's called Pacific Insurance Interstate Brokers out of the greater Sacramento area, El Dorado Hills. If you go get connected with them, I can give you an appointment. But you got to kind of go through their umbrella. I'm like, okay. So I did my homework and I started looking at all these different, they call them aggregators or networks, whatever you want to call them. And some of them you would have to give up ownership in part of your book as you produced. Other ones, you would have to really give up too much of a commission on it. And PIB was the only network that didn't own any of my book and didn't take any of my commission. And they provided a ton of resources for me. They provided carrier appointments. And I said, man, PIB seems like they're about relationships. And so I had a call with Larry Manning at the time, and he's passed away, and his daughter Tiffany is now taken over. And Tiffany and the team there are just absolutely incredible at PIB, and I can't say enough about them. And so it's one of those things where I can still have appointments that maybe they don't have outside of it, but if I can, my numbers roll up to them, and they've been phenomenal to work with.
Shout out to Tiffany.
Yeah,
Dan, I think between Tiffany and other people I've met that are connected there, it seems like there's a pretty good group, like people you want to get to know and you want to build your business alongside.
Yeah, and the cool thing about PIB is they really want to create those relationships and that network where you can bounce ideas off each other. At any point in time, I can call that office and I can talk to Ashley or Brittany or Carrie or Tiffany, whoever it might be, and I can brainstorm with them, and they're going to connect me. Hey, you should call this guy out of San Diego who's going to be here this weekend. Nice. You can call this other guy, Matt Davis, out of Turlock, right? And there's these other people that I've built relationships with that I was like, hey, if I'm going through something and I'm not sure how to handle something, they're in the industry. They're not a direct competitor. I can talk to them and bounce some ideas off them.
Right. I remember back in the day, our agency that I worked for in California was part of the Sitkins network. And one of the things they did was they wanted to have agencies that weren't direct competitors come together and share resources. Now, occasionally you might have some crossover, right? Like you guys are doing real estate all over the place. However, they're not people in your backyard who you're already going to be prickly with and say, we've been battling them for 15 years. We can't stand them. So I think the synergy provided by a group like that is powerful because we're seeing a change in how agents use the internet rather than going to the big I. Now, the big I is still a thing, but there's less and less legacy agents and more agents being acquired. So the agents that do want to connect have to make a concerted effort to find each other. And it seems like networks are growing. I don't know all the numbers, but it seems like people are joining them and they're benefiting from it.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things, right? If you have a $3 million book with a Safeco or a Travelers or whoever it might be, and all of a sudden you're going to get a contingency or a profit share check for X, but your numbers can roll up in this network to 250, 300 million. And so you're guaranteed a certain payout every year, no matter what, even if your loss ratio stinks. There's something pretty valuable about that. Your ceiling maybe might not be as high on some of the contracts, or it could be higher, but you always have a floor that you know you're going to get. And where if you have a house fire and you don't have a big book, it could destroy your whole book, and you don't get paid anything that year. So there's a lot of benefits to it.
I wonder if, so let's say our agencies are part of a network together, and there's a floor for contingencies. I know that that's not the carrier's favorite thing, and I've heard rumblings of how the carriers and the networks aren't always the best of friends. That being said, I just have to think that the agencies that are owned by private equity or Wall Street, they're not cutting the carriers some sweetheart deal. Like they're driving really aggressive deals behind the scenes. So as much as the networks might be pushing for a certain return on investment to bring all that volume, potentially it's worse if we were all to go join another agency that's owned by another interest.
Yeah, I think the thing that I hear over and over from carriers is we're one of their favorite offices to walk into because they feel welcome. They feel like we're extremely outgoing, that we care. And every carrier rep that I talk to when we get a new appointment, I said, you need to understand something. We're not like everybody else. When something goes wrong, we're going to call you and we're going to have a conversation about it, but it's going to be in a respectful, kind manner. And we're going to fix it. We're going to treat this thing like a marriage, and there's going to be give and take, and we're invested in each other. We're not going to call you up and cuss you out. We're not going to call you up and demand that we do this or we're going to roll a book. It's not how we operate. It's not in the best interest of our clients. It's not in the best interest of this long-term relationship. And so I think there's something with the independent agent channel that carriers still really like. And there's a place for everyone. And, everyone makes decisions on what's best for them. I just think when you look at statistics, and I got this from Cody Sanchez, and I've read her book, Main Street Millionaire, which has been pretty good. In 2004, private equity owned 4% of the US GDP. In 2020 or 2024, they own 20%. That's a big jump. Mm-hmm. And if we want our communities to look the same, there's definitely a place for that. And that's 100% fine if people decide that's the route they want to go. There's a lot of good, awesome people that work at them. There's some firms in our area too that we have a good working relationship and have a ton of respect for them. But for some of us, the community piece is a really big deal. And for us, we really want to be there to support the families and the businesses in our community. And we want to just try to make it look a little different, where the money stays in our community. I had a roofing contractor say, yeah, we're one of the largest roofing contractors in Washington, and we do stuff all over the West Coast. Our job is to bring that money and those paychecks back to Linden. Mm. And that really resonated with me. And it's pretty cool to see what they do and what they provide for the community and good paying jobs too.
That is cool. So like Linden is a remote location.
I don't know if I'd say remote. But like we're a smaller town. We're 17,000 people. Okay. We got the water 20 minutes one way. We got the mountains 30 minutes the other way. And we got Canada. Literally, there's a border crossing into Canada. So we're kind of like landlocked. We're kind of locked in, right? So we just go south. But we're 2 hours north of Seattle.
Okay.
And yeah.
So I guess maybe I use the term remote in that, we have a few offices and our carrier reps, it's easier to be in a Boise office than it would be an office that is less close to other major populations. That being said, you're probably close enough to Seattle that it works out. How do you see that working out to extend the courtesy to carriers? How often do they visit? Do they meet with your whole team or just meet with you, maybe meet with Caleb? What does that typically look like?
Yeah, it really depends. If it's a carrier that we're doing a lot of commercial insurance with, they'll typically come in, they'll meet with the team. It might be on a quarterly basis, once or twice a year. The other thing that we've kind of tightened down on is we love our carrier relationships, but there's a lot that we can do over the phone or Teams. If you're going to come in, like we want it to provide value. Our team's busy. We're kind of a younger crew, so we got a lot of people building their books. And so if you're going to come in and take time, like, it's got to be something that is going to be beneficial for both of us. Now, I do think it's really important. The ones that are the squeaky wheel are constantly in front of it, we tend to do more business with. So it's kind of this balance of how do you handle this? Because I have reps that want to come in all the time. And if we did that, nothing would get done. And so Nate is our operations guy. And then we typically would have like Nate and a team lead. And sometimes I'll jump in on those meetings and we'll go from there. But it just kind of depends where that carrier's at. If we're hitting on stuff, do we need to have a meeting? Do we not? That sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, that is tough because some carriers you'll never see. Things are going fine. Others want to meet all the time. And so one question I now ask folks that call, because I'm kind of running point on setting up meetings, is do you need to meet with us in order to fulfill a metric that you're being given by someone above you? Mm-hmm. So are you being told, hey, go meet with Hartwell once a quarter? If so, do you want to grab breakfast? Do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to meet with a few team leads? Or we also are trying out a new philosophy that we stole from a group in Portland that kind of coached us of carrier days. So we'll have 3 meetings, breakfast, 10:30, and then a noon lunch meeting. But we tell all of our producers, we're not going to have you come in. We're not going to do a bunch of different Zoom calls. But on carrier days, you all need to be here. So the flip side of that is that our account managers lose track of our producers. They literally might not see them in person for months on end.
Do you guys work remotely?
Yeah, so technically 4 locations.
Okay.
And especially because we have account managers on the other side of the state, some of our producers are kind of lone wolves who, if we say, hey, just please come in for 5 hours and be engaged, ask good questions. Typically what we ask the carrier to do is 15 minutes of updates. And then the next 45 minutes is the phrase used is pipelining, where you would say, hey, my roofer who's working up and down the West Coast, he's going to get non-renewed by this carrier. Are you interested? They're able to ask you some good questions, but you would hopefully screen your book ahead of time so that you're not asking this carrier about something that's clearly not even remotely close to what they're going to be working on.
Yeah. We're all in office. And so it's a little easier from that standpoint of everyone's there, right? So we're not saying, hey, you need to be here. You kind of be there anyway. But at the carrier days is interesting. The metric thing, we've had that conversation too. And that's usually when they'll just go grab lunch. It's like, I want to come up to Linden. I'd rather drive north than south. So it's a beautiful drive from Seattle. So, but yeah, you get that. And it's that balance, right? Like what value are you providing? And that's really important. It's not to say that they're not valuable. It's just everyone's here to work. And so just to take time out to give us information we already know, I don't know if that's always the best.
Right. Or so we're looking at carrier days or some of our carriers are doing social events, set up a happy hour, go to an axe throwing place, just go have lunch at a kind of a fun spot in town. Everyone's a little bit different. Yeah. Some of our carriers don't have any extra money to spend. Others are like, whatever you need, we're going to do it. So figuring out who needs what, who has to join, on what kind of a basis they're expected to meet with us.
Yeah.
And then I guess it is every carrier you have a different relationship with. Some of them say, I've got to meet with you. You're like, let's do it. Others, you're kind of going, maybe once or twice a year we connect, right?
Yeah. Or as my kids would say, 6 or 7.
Yes! Yes!
I had to throw that in there for them.
Yes! Dan, you hero.
Oh, man.
You hero.
You know, it's the little things.
I was nearly 6'7" with my wife for Halloween.
For Reformation Day.
I need to put you in the podcast Hall of Fame for dropping that.
I think I did text you and I said, Happy Reformation Day. I hate Halloween. I don't know why. I just don't like getting dressed up. I'm not that. It's fine. We went and hung out at Tana's house. You'll meet Tana this week.
Okay.
I felt like half our office was there. She's like in the perfect neighborhood, so all the kids can just like go, and we had the World Series game on. And
nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
So we are doing Agent Underground starting later today.
Yes.
So that's what we're referencing. This podcast will probably come out in 2026, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That being said, let's circle back around. Can we talk about how out of control the Halloween decorations are getting these days?
It's bad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I'm thankful I live in the county. And so I don't have anyone like that. Neighborhoods I'm really driving through, and none of my neighbors are really into it. So but you walk through, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
I mean, I get cartoon pumpkins, cartoon witches, cartoon skeletons. And there's even like conversation like, is that okay? But let's just pretend that's okay for a second. A clown with a blood-stained knife stabbing someone. I mean,
and they wonder why our society's turned into what it's turned into.
I mean, do we need to have the clown from It, like literally all across someone's garage door, crawling underneath the garage? Like,
so can I tell you what I did this year? And you've met Kaylee, right? Mm-hmm. Our marketing person. She's a rock star. Kaylee loves Christmas. My wife loves Christmas. I've always been the guy not till after Thanksgiving. Like, no, nothing. We have a company that comes in. They put our Christmas lights up on our office. And last year I was like, hey, if you're in our office, why don't you just do my house really quick? That way I don't have to get up in the rain and do it and worry about, 5 trips to the hardware store. And so I had them put them up. I put them up on October 28th. And I just skipped Halloween and went straight to the Christmas lights. And you know what? I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so it's kind of dark. So it's kind of nice. It just brights up. So,
Dan, you hero. Let your tribe increase, and let Mariah Carey's tribe decrease. What's the meme say? It's something like, in an alternative universe, Mariah Carey's walking through a supermarket, putting up with me singing "All I Want for Christmas Is You." This song's the worst.
That's funny. No, so I just decided to skip it all together. But I'm really excited about Agent Underground. It's interesting. A little bit of what I get out of PIAB is very similar to that. Is I get to connect with these other agents that are independently owned, and they're all different. Some of them are heavy personal line shops. Some of them are heavy commercial shops, or a mix of both. But I get that when I go to those PIAB events, I get to connect with them. This is cool because I think there's gonna be a lot of people out of the Northwest, a few out of California too. But I think it's going to be really neat for us to be able to connect together and share like, hey, what are you doing that's working? Right. Where are you using AI? Like I'm jacked to have Margot from Iris.
She'll rock.
She's awesome. We're one of the first implementers of that, and we're hopefully going live soon. with that new CRM. But it's just, there's so much that's changing, and our industry has been so stuck in the past for a long time. And I think the technology is starting to catch up slowly. And we use AI in our agency every single day, every single day. And we're using it even more. And the goal is that so that we can serve our clients better. It's not to replace jobs. It's not to do anything. It's to try to get our team's sanity back from the volume that occurs, and for them to actually be able to strategize and focus more on relationships. And that's what I'm excited to hear what other people are using, what their SOPs are in their agencies, and what seems to work. How are you finding people? What carriers do you have a deep relationship with? Right. That when you pick up the phone, you're like, I need to find a spot for this risk. They're willing to say, okay, give us the story. Not just, does it check my box? Does it fit in my box? I want true relationships with carriers that understand, like, this is the guy that, sorry if I'm going a rabbit trail here.
Do it.
The guy that I learned insurance from was an underwriter from Allied Insurance named Adam Frank. So Adam, if you see this on LinkedIn or something like that, shout out to you, man, because you were huge in my career. And I don't even know where he's at now, but he was with Allied Insurance, and he helped me write some accounts that I was a little over my skis on. And I just said, what kind of coverage do we need here? What am I not thinking of? What does this mean? Right? It was really early on. What is coinsurance? Like all those like little things that can be a little complex. And I still remember times I'd call him, I'd be at the office working late, 8 o'clock at night. He'd pick up his phone. And that's what I tell all our young guys right now too. And I just say, hey, like before you go bug Caleb or first of all, have you tried to figure it out yourself? Have you used technology, different things to figure things out? But then pick up your phone and ask your underwriter, like have them teach you, right. have them build that relationship with them. They want that. And we got a guy right now in our office. We just kind of joke that like this one company and an underwriter is like his personal underwriter because he got going about a year ago, and he and Joe are just tight, and it's worked out really well, but he's learned a lot from them. Right. Right. And there's, insurance, like when we were taking our insurance class, it was like no what if questions was on the wall, because you could ask what if questions all day. And so when you get into those situations, when you're trying to learn and understand stuff, it's really important to have those relationships with an underwriter that you can cling on to too, and call and be like, hey man, can you help me on this? I got an opportunity on this account, but I need some help learning on this. Right. And to Caleb's credit in our department, he does a great job mentoring those guys and walks along. Like we don't just shove someone off in the deep end and, but are you a person of high agency where you can go and you can learn things and come up with solutions and build those relationships with your underwriters, so that way when you do call them when you need a favor, you've built that relationship with them already. So,
well, I'll tell you what, I can think of a carrier right now who is awesome, but they basically say no and decline submissions for a handful of our agents. But one of our agents can get anything passed by this carrier. If one of our agents would call this carrier and say, I have a boutique nuclear power plant, they'd be like, okay, how can we make it work?
Just throw the word boutique in front of it.
and no joke, I went in the other day, and so we have a team leader that handles all accounts over a certain size, and then someone who handles all accounts underneath that size. Our team leader of our large accounts was like, hey, I'm stressed out. I'm working on a $250,000 account for this person with this carrier. This carrier doesn't normally do this. They're manuscripting a policy to help this agent. I said, you got to be kidding me.
I've seen that. I've seen that a couple times,
but you got to be
not
like
often.
This.
Oh yeah,
you got to be dogs with somebody.
Yeah. Can you remove that exclusion? Can you remove that residential new tract home exclusion, please? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, Dan, I think whether you are recognizing it fully yet or not, your agency is thriving. I think I hear from you, but I also get to hear from Caleb. So, two different perspectives on the success you're having. You've got the gray hairs coming in, a little Mitt Romney action up here.
I started coaching when I was 19. I also met my wife and got married when I was 21. So we always joke, was it coaching or was it getting married?
But I think all of those things, and I'm giving you honest congratulations and a little playful ribbing, but I really do think that you have now become kind of that friendly leader amongst your peers. And so if you look at a room with the agents from PIIB, there's a lot of folks who are doing well, but you are a catalyst who is bringing people together. And so there's a level of enthusiasm a person has to have in order to see others succeed. Because there's a lot of agents, as you know, they're just like, hey, it's my world. I don't care about anybody else.
Yeah.
And that you got to do that to succeed at a certain level. But I love what you're doing. I think I'm thrilled you're here this weekend. So when you told me, I remember leaving you a voice message saying, hey, this might be crazy, but we're doing Agent Underground. Here are the dates. And I left you a voicemail. I didn't realize you were on a trip. So I didn't hear back for like 8 days or whatever. And I'm like, dude, Dan's totally out. He thinks our idea is dumb. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Then you left me a voicemail and said, I'm all in. Just got back from a trip. I mean, the endorphin hit I had from like, yes! It was like,
let's go.
So pumped.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, well, first of all, thank you. I think when you surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And there's something to be said for integrity and character. And you can go hire anybody to sell. We don't want to be a used car salesman. No offense to some friends that I know that are in the car space, but we don't want to be that. We want to make a different name for insurance, and we want to do it the right way. It doesn't mean we're perfect, but when we screw up, we got to try to own it and make it right and take care of the client. But I think the other thing you get when you bring people together, it's fun. Let me back up a second. So one of the I would call it a mentor of mine. There's two, and I don't know them personally. But I was at a Dave Ramsey EntreLeadership event back in 2020. And I hadn't been sitting in a room full of people for a long time because of COVID. And I was in Texas, and Craig Rochelle was speaking, and then followed up from him was John Maxwell. And John Maxwell talked about, hey, John Wooden was a mentor to me. But before I even met him, I read a lot of his books. You can't maybe get in the same room or share lunch or breakfast with a mentor that could potentially help you in your industry. But a lot of these guys have written books. And Patrick Lencioni is one of those guys that he's written a lot of books. We model our hiring off of him. Hungry, Humble, Smart, off the Ideal Team Player. Dave Ramsey, EntreLeadership. His events have been critical for the core of our business and creating operating procedures for how we hire, who we hire. We want to hire thoroughbreds, not donkeys. Because if you hire people who aren't hard workers, the hard workers and high performers will leave you because they don't want to put up with that. So those are a couple of people. But one of the things Lencioni's done is he's created this personality test called Working Genius. And it's how you work. And there's these different working geniuses that you have or working frustrations. And my two working geniuses are it's kind of interesting. One is galvanizing, which is taking an idea and getting people to rally behind it. Agent Underground, right? Things like that. I get excited about that kind of stuff, bringing people together. Number two is invention. So like creating something out of nothing. And I'm really good at starting things, and I got to have a lot of people around me to help sustain stuff. And so I have a lot of people way smarter than me, but I'm the idea guy. And what's interesting, in our entire company, we've all taken this test, and then they have wisdom and discernment, and they have tenacity and enablement, kind of seeing things through to the end. I'm not any of those. I have the wisdom and discerning are kind of like my mediums, but the detail stuff is not mine. But no one else in our company has the invention side. It's only me. I'm the big idea guy. I'm the dreamer. And then galvanizing is me. And then Kaylee, our marketing gal, she has galvanizing too. And those are rallying people behind ideas. And that's how God's wired me. And so it's like, how do I press into that? I got to be careful because I have like 10 new ideas every day. And I get sucked into like all these community projects and things like that because I was like, this is what it's about. Like, my faith is really important to me. And the older you get, the realize the less time you have. And my daughter's starting to look at colleges and things like that. And I'm just like, man, like, how do we make a difference in people's lives? Right. How do we use insurance as an avenue to take care of people in times of need, but also to make money so that way then we can support our community. Right. And that's why I'm so passionate about locally owned agencies, right? Because the money stays in our community. And I think it's a big deal to support those agencies that want to grow, that want to stay locally owned, and because they're the ones that a lot of times are investing back in your community. And that doesn't mean, like I said earlier, there's really good people at these other ones, but there's something about when your money's spent and it's going to local ownership is really important.
Amen. So, you're hitting on something that I was going to bring up as we kind of land the plane, and that was any good books. So I think, is it Patrick
Lincioni. Yep.
So is his book called Six Working Geniuses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think you and I may have similar.
I mean, he's got lots of books, but that's the one where they actually have the personality test you can do within your workplace environment. I
think I saw it at the airport. I was flipping through it, but now I've got to read it. Mm-hmm. So, okay, hit me with where, just because I'm a geek and I love thinking about these things, where do Caleb's gifts fall in that Six Working Geniuses?
Boy, you're going to put me on the spot here.
If you don't remember, that's okay.
Oh boy. I believe he has a little bit of tenacity, which is kind of the research, see things through to the end. Like that guy will go and research anything and find it and get the details on it. And I would say enablement is another big one for him. He's really good on empowering other people and giving them the tools that they need. So those are a couple big pieces for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you guys have done as an agency, your vision. Caleb as a boots on the ground sales manager, I would guess 1 out of 250 agencies actually have a sales manager that works. Most of them hire one to make the owner feel better, and then it just bombs. And then the owner says, I can't trust anyone. That's what I've seen in my workplaces. But I think Mana's kind of got it worked out where you guys are really clicking on all cylinders right now from everything I've seen.
We're getting there. Like anything, nothing's ever perfect, right? And you always have to recalibrate, and that's part of it. And growth is hard because to us, culture is king. But you can also, when you kind of coast along for a while and everything's good, like you kind of have to recalibrate every once in a while. And we had one of those meetings the other day, and it went really well. And hopefully people understand, like, we're doing this because we care about our team.
Right.
Right. And so our team members are extremely important to us, but it's the culture that's set. Are you showing up when your team members need you, not just when you need a sale?
Right.
Right. And so you got to practice what you preach.
Dan, I love talking to you. I could talk for another hour easily. However, I am going to postpone our conversation until after the Mariners win the World Series next year, and we will come back here, just talk baseball for an entire hour.
I would love that. I will give you all of my opinions from Connor, what's the guy's name that was at third base that's getting roasted online about his leadoff. Did you see that?
I don't know enough about baseball.
I will nerd out, dude. So,
dude, I can't talk baseball. I could slander Russell Wilson if you needed to. But,
let's stay away from the slander. We don't need any of that.
I'm just kidding. Hey, it has been great to talk to you, my friend. I look forward to the next time.
All right. Thanks, Brian.